Good afternoon, Coach.
Hey, how's it going?
All is well. All is well. Happy Tuesday.
Tuesday to you. All right. Is everybody in?
Good morning, Coach.
Good morning. Good morning. How's it going?
Oh, it's hot in Arizona, but we okay.
I don't know why people move to hot places. I also don't know why people move to places that have hurricanes, or tornadoes.
But it's beautiful. I am at work, so I am not staying on camera.
Okay, no problem, no problem.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How you doing?
Fine, and you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'll be doing even better when I get my computer back.
What happened to your computer?
I burnt the motherboard. I wore it out. I wore that computer out. I
Doing all
wore it
that
out.
midnight working. That's what happened.
Hey, and I don't close none of the screens. I vow I'm gonna do better with this computer. I'm gonna save stuff to the cloud. I'm not going to hold everything in my download folder. I'm gonna close some of the screens some of the time. I listen. I wore that computer out. When I say I had screens open, I had I had the all of the screen is covered with icons, right? But then I found out when you do three fingers and move it to the side, you get a whole nother screen. I filled that up too. Oh, Lord.
You didn't make no folders or nothing like that. You just put
Not,
everything on the screen.
not what folder. And I keep all my tabs open, all the websites open, except for my banks. But yeah, everything. All my different email accounts, all my Facebooks, all everything. Every grant that I research, click, click. My cell phone got 500 screens open right now. Well, 499. Um, I didn't know cell phones had a limit. But yeah, it's a shame. It is so bad.
I keep my windows open too sometimes, and then it's telling me your memory is full. Your memory is full. And I'm like, wait.
Yeah,
I say I've never seen that before.
yeah, yeah. But I'm gonna do better with this one. I'm gonna open some folders. I'm gonna get real organized. You know how like the first day of school, this year I'm gonna be real organized.
We'll see. Bad habits.
I know. I'm gonna have a folder for each company and then a folder for each grant. It's wait till y'all see it. It's gonna be beautiful. I couldn't even get that loud. But okay. Anyway, how's everybody else doing? Y'all all right? All right. So let's start with any questions that y'all have, any progress, any problems that you run into, and then we're gonna get into this preparation for Giving Tuesday that we started with y'all last week. All right. Any questions, any progress, any problems?
Hey, Coach, this is Shameen. Good. I guess it's good afternoon where you are, huh?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
Okay.
right at noon here.
All right. Cool. 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 I'm still in the morning hours over here in California. I was looking at some of the classroom or class videos that you have online, and one of them was talking about how you have to set up your website. And it was very, very informative. One of the things that I have on my website is like an outline of basically what what the nonprofit is about. And I was wanted to ask, do you put your programs on the website so people can see your programs? Where do you put your white paper if you're gonna, have a white paper? I thought that was a cool suggestion. Did some writing on a white paper that I'll be handing over to someone to actually execute. But yeah, I just wanted to find out where the way my website is set up is there's a screen that you go to when you first open it that would tell you, that you're a 501c3, what your mission and vision is. But I don't know where to put the programs.
All right. So the format that we use is optimized for giving. So we want people to give. There's some people that use their websites for different things. And there are even people like that have really, really pretty websites, and they get excited off of how pretty the website is. But when you have a nonprofit website, the purpose of that website is to engage more volunteers, more followers, and more givers. The people that need your service probably aren't going to go to your website, but the people that want to volunteer, that want to give to you, that want to support you, they are going to need your website. So the first thing that your website should do is to allow them to give money or give their email address. So when we design people's websites, we do it with the pop-up, similar to how Salvation Army. Salvation Army is one of the highest earning nonprofit charities in the world. And they make lots of money. So we model their format. So we get emails and donations. The donate button needs to be really clear. The email prompt needs to be, hey, put your email in to get more information. On the first screen, we want some vibrant picture, remember to donate or give your email, and then the overview of your programs. The white paper or the research that guides, it doesn't have to be on the first page. It doesn't have to be above the fold. It just needs to be somewhere in there so that people can find it. Maybe on the second page, maybe on the third section of the website. And then your 501c3 letter itself needs to be there in case they want to download it. All nonprofit information is public information, so they can get it from the IRS if they wanted to. However, what we do, we put it in the footer of the website. So your 501c3 letter and your 990s, when we design websites, they are linked at the bottom so that people can download it. And again, when we design websites, we design it so that a funding source, a giver, or a volunteer can get everything they need in order to be excited about helping you out.
I see. So the 990 and your letter is linked at the bottom.
At the bottom. Yep.
And where do you put the white paper?
We put it on a second page. Yeah. It's the person that's giving and volunteering, they're not going there to read your white paper necessarily. It just needs to be available for anybody that does want it.
Okay.
Coach, I have a question about the 990 being connected at the bottom or linked. What if this particular, we're a new nonprofit, so our 990, the one that we just filed was the postcard one. We put that as well? Okay.
Yeah. Yep. And put whatever you have. The thing is, if they went to the IRS website to look you up, it's going to be there anyway, either the long form 990 or the short form 990. So the short form 990, like the postcard, is not less valuable than the long form. There are some funding sources that that want the longer form 990, but it's okay because those funding sources that want the longer form are the ones that are giving larger money. So if somebody's giving you $200,000, certainly you can do the long form if that's what they require. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Other questions? All right. What are some problems that you all ran into between last week and this week?
Hey, Coach, this is Alice Marie. Um, One of the problems that I ran into was a self problem.
Mhm.
Um, I think you got my message where I had reached out to you because I felt like I wasn't qualified to apply for this particular grant, the MDF grant. Um, I had started on it, and then I felt like some of the things that it was asking me, I didn't know how to truthfully answer, or I felt like I was lying, and I was uncomfortable with that. But I was like, okay, what do I need to do? Um, and so, of course, you shared your wisdom and knowledge, and I certainly appreciate that. Um, but it came up in my head when you have talked to us about the imposter syndrome, and how I just felt like, am I really ready? Is this really what I'm called to do? And I know that it is, but I just kind of got in my head. So it was just a me issue. It wasn't necessarily applying for the grants. And then after you shared some words of wisdom with me, I went ahead, went forth and applied. And I've applied for a couple of things, and I'm working on something right now while we're in class. Um, and so I just needed that little confidence booster. And I
Yeah.
don't know if any other of the classmates have had that issue, but that just kind of was my issue that I had. So I just moved forward. So thank you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you're welcome. And it is a thing. It's actually a thing for everybody, um, at different degrees. And it happens whenever you are engaging, embarking on a new journey of anything. If you were learning how to do computer coding, if you were going to summer camp, if you were learning how to swim, there's this point in your there's this point at which your mind goes to the place of, can I really do this? And when you ask yourself, can I really do this? The emphasis is not really on the, can I really do this? The real emphasis is, can I do it? And many people have the situation where they believe in others, but when it comes time to believe in themselves, they struggle. Like, it's easy to encourage somebody else, but it's not so easy to encourage yourself. Why is that? It's because the issue is never really, can the thing be done? The issue is, am I the person to do that? And whenever you decide, and this goes for everybody, whenever you decide that you're going to do something, the next hurdle is not, can the thing be done? The next hurdle is, am I the one to do it? And a lot of times when people face that, they end up doing what I call busy work, things that are good, but it doesn't change your condition. Um, and many of you have been there before, and you probably experienced it. Like, if you really be honest, that you're working on a project, and then you worked on the fancy stuff when it came down to the real gut wrenching thing, the thing that where you actually had to put yourself out there. You did everything except it. You read the book, but you didn't take action. You took notes, but you didn't take action. You prepared to do it, but you didn't submit it. You didn't send it in. One of my clients, I told him it was time for him to do an op-ed, and he wrote the op-ed, and he was fine. But then I said, all right, now it's time to send it in, and he got nervous. People go through all types of preparation, and then when it's time to do the thing, they get nervous, they clam up, and it's really not their fault. It's because, for the most part, people have underestimated you and who you are and what you can do. They've underestimated you for so long that they lowered the expectations to something you were comfortable with. And when they lowered that expectation in order to make you comfortable, you never lifted that expectation higher. And so what happens is we end up getting surrounded by people that are comfortable with us where we are, but they can't handle where we're going. They're okay with what you have done, but they have no idea what you're really capable of. And the side effect of that is that because you didn't lift that standard for yourself, you actually lowered that standard. And so you walked around like this. And then when you have the opportunity to really stand up and do your dream, it's like, can I really stand up? Can I really do this? Am I really the one? Am I really able? Am I really capable? And that's why you'll find people who have started anything, um, people who have started anything, they are no longer afraid to start. because they face that fear already. But people who are not accustomed to starting, that fear kind of paralyzes them. Do y'all understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, it happens, and it's a real thing. And so what you have to do is get accustomed to starting things, get accustomed to taking action. You really have to rip the Band-Aid off. You have to jump into the deep end of the pool. You have to like get out there. You have to like start doing the activities that you know are going to change your condition. And for you, Alice Marie, when you asked about that grant, that's something like wondering if you qualify, if you're ready. Uh, that's a very real thing. But once you submit it one time, it opens up, and then you can do it over and over and over again. It's really like a professional breakthrough.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, yeah. So what else? Any other problems? All right. So let's look at Giving Tuesday. Did any of you download or take a look at the document that we shared last week for Giving Tuesday?
Yes.
All right. So tell me your thoughts.
I liked it. This is Alice Murray again. I liked it, and I was and I'm still in the process of putting things in my calendar so I can ahead be ready to make sure that my calendar that I operate off of, because I have to have everything on a calendar that sends me kind of messages to let me know when I need to take action on stuff. So it's just helpful to be able to have all of that, and I can put it in my calendar so it pre-populates and lets me know. But it's an
All
excellent.
right, sounds good. Sounds good. All right. So y'all, as you prepare for Giving Tuesday, one of the most important things in the nonprofit world is story. One of the most important is story. When we apply for grants, we weave in stories. When we do speeches, we're talking about stories. When we send out our newsletter, every newsletter needs a story. People give money based on stories. And so you have to become a good storyteller. In today's class, I'm going to show you the different stories that you have to tell for the different funding sources. And if we have time, we'll go into exactly how to craft that story. But let's talk about the different funding sources and the different types of stories that they want to hear. So when you deal with federal grants, the federal grants are grants that come from the federal government. All right. And the federal grants are looking for a story about data. All right. They're looking for a story about data. And when they want that story about data, they want the data, they want the evidence-based practice, and they want um, the how you have applied the census. All right. So they want data. That's how you do what you do. They want the data. They want the evidence-based practice, and they want to see how you have used the census data. All right. So that's the story that the federal government wants. When you are writing the grant for the federal government, this is the story that you have to tell. They are not as concerned about the other types of stories. They're concerned about the data story, the evidence-based practice story, the census story. That's what they're concerned about. All right. The next type of grant story that you have to tell is for state grants. State grants are asking up, they are looking for a tax story and a group story. All right. The tax story is the story about how taxes and public funds are being spent. Now, there's a lot of theory about why this is the case. It could be because legislators and lawmakers and state officials are always trying to go for a vote. And they, when they go for the vote, they're always talking about taxes and the people who get taxed, blah, blah, blah. For whatever reason, it is this way. Um, it's neither here nor there. The most important thing for you to know is that this is how it is. When you're dealing with state grants and state officials and state level funding sources, you have to be willing to tell a tax story. And that tax story might be how much taxpayers have to pay for XYZ not being done? How much taxpayers have to pay when XYZ happens? For example, how much does it cost taxpayers when people are homeless? How much does it cost taxpayers when people are incarcerated? An individual citizen that's never been homeless might not really care about homeless people. But when you tell a tax story about the fact that one homeless individual costs taxpayers $13,000 per year because of emergency room visits that they don't need. Oh, now somebody's going to pay attention because it's costing them money. People, you'll notice this. People are inherently selfish, so um, their predisposition is to think first about themselves, and then to think about others. So when you're dealing with a funding source, even though they might be hired to think about the community, they're hired to think about citizens, they're hired to think about the less fortunate. In reality, they're thinking about how they can make their funding dollar go the farthest. And when you're willing to tell a tax story, um, you can make that you can make the case better than anybody else. So the state level grants, they want a tax story. They also want a group story. The group story is about large groups of people. Now you want to be careful not to tokenize and not to be stuck in tokenism or anything like that. Um, you don't want to say all Black people such and such, but you do want to say things like the local African American, historically African American neighborhood in this community, such and such. That's groups of people. Um, the senior citizens group, such and such. One of the easiest ways to name groups are groups that are already identified, groups that are already incorporated, groups that are already set aside, groups that have already named themselves. You don't want to get in the practice of naming groups that haven't named themselves. So you don't want to say Black people in Asheville because you don't know all the Black people in Asheville, but you do know the NAACP in Asheville. You do know the historically Black neighborhood in Asheville. You do know the group of Black-led nonprofits in Asheville. You do know the Black-led nonprofits in Asheville. So those types of things will anchor what it is that you're saying. All right. Then when you deal with county grants, they want a different story. They want a teamwork story. All right. The teamwork story is a story where you say that even though our groups are different, we have come together. So if my group deals with people that are getting out of prison, and your group deals with credit counseling and financial literacy, and that group over there deals with mental health, then when all these groups come together, a person can come to one place and get all of their needs met because they previously were incarcerated. They need credit counseling to make their credit better, and they need mental health support services to help take care of their internal stuff. So county grants want a teamwork story. All right. City grants are a little different. They want teamwork, but they want to make sure that you're not duplicating services. So most of the time, the people that work in the city, they have connections with citizens. They have this because citizens come to city council meetings. They make public comment, and as sad as it is, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. So the people who talk the most get the most money. All right. But when you're working with the city, you want to go in, become a partner, but you want to be able to explain how you're not duplicating services. Cities typically have smaller budgets than the county, smaller budgets than the state, smaller budgets than the federal. And so they're going to be really picky about who they give to. They want to know that you're not duplicating services. And the way that you make sure you're not duplicating services is to ask them. Now, the truth is that there's nothing new under the sun. So there is somebody else that's doing what you're doing. But you don't want to get stuck with the fact that somebody else is doing what you're doing. How is it that yours is different? Are you targeting a different neighborhood? Are you responding to a different social issue? Are you addressing something in a different way? Do you have a unique partner? Is there some new research that guides how you do what you do? All right. Then you have corporate grants or retail grants. Corporate and retail are the same. They want an individual story. They want to be able to have a picture of Bob and where you bought a wheelchair for Bob. They want a story. They want a story about an individual change in condition. All right. And they want to be able to come out and present the big check and take a picture. All right. When Walmart gives you a grant, they want you to come to the store and take a picture with the manager. They want to tell the individual story. And they don't really have time to craft the story. So you have to be able to tell the story quickly, in short form, in just a few sentences. They're going to put it on their newsletter website. You're going to do the same. All right. Then the next story is foundation. Foundations give out more grants than any other sector. And the story that they want is a change in condition. They want to know, where did it start and where did it end? And you have to be able to say where it started in 2 or 3 sentences. All right. Now, in the grant application, they'll ask you more details about the statement of need. They'll, in the grant reports, they'll ask you about the demographics and the people, what the people deal with and suffer with. But what they're trying to do is to craft a story. And that story is about a change in condition. All right. It can be a change in condition for a group of people, change in condition for your cohort, a change in condition for just the folks you serve, a certain demographic, et cetera. But they want to really understand a change in condition. All right. So I want I want you all to go ahead and prepare your questions. I'm going to give you a recap, and I want the writers to get me an example. Can y'all pull for me the Wells Fargo grant? Did I? I think I wrote about FA. Actually, I wrote about them in all the grants. Is Attorney Jenny here? Which one of my writers are here?
All of them, sir. We have Jenny, Eliza,
Oh, why she ain't speak up?
Jason, Carol.
Why Jenny ain't speak up? Is she probably doing something? Anyway, I need pull up the Community Foundation grant and the Wells Fargo grant for me. I think we got 2 Community Foundation grants. Pull up the one, or just pull up one of them. Pull up both of them. That's fine.
Got that, boss.
Okay, thank you. All right, I'm going to do a recap, and I want to know if you all have questions while she pulls this up, and I'll show you examples. So federal grants, they need a data story. They want a census story. They want an evidence-based practice story. State grants, they want a tax story. All right, and they want a group story. County grants, they want a teamwork story. City grants, they want a story about how you're not duplicating services. You're doing something unique. Corporate grants, they want an individual story. What is that individual? How is this going to bless an individual, help an individual? And the foundations, they want a change in condition. All right, what questions do you all have?
So I have a question, Coach. Is this something that you have printed out that we could see, or is this something that we can refer to?
Yeah, it's I'll send the what do you call the thing? I'll send the document. I haven't been able to put this stuff on my computer and make it pretty for you all. But what I've done is simplified this. So I'll send it out, and Mark will make it available in the portal. Would that be helpful? Yes?
Yeah, I think so because as we go through and figure out what grants we are applying for, I think it would be great to have some reference. And when you say someone wants a data story versus an individual story, are we saying the data story is something like we've helped 10 families uh, in our first year, and we've upgraded or
No,
increased? No.
no. For federal grants, they rarely, if ever, ask what you've already done. They will, they have a section in most federal grants called past performance evaluation, and they don't even want you to explain. They just ask you for numbers. They ask you for the numbers of people you serve and the amount of money you've been able to spend. Um, and they ask you like what the success rate was with those people, but you don't get space to talk about like what happened in federal grants. You don't get that. However, the data story that they want is a story about what is the unemployment in your area, what is the graduation rate in your area, have you seen any correlation between the graduation rate and the dropout rate? I mean, graduation rate and the unemployment rate. Like that's the story. It's for federal grants, it's like a research paper.
I see.
Foundation grants are more like a soap opera.
Okay.
And you got to be able to kind of, both of them are different. They're a horse of a different color.
So, Coach, it would be a good idea to go through our program and take these different types of stories, our one program, and write these different stories for these different organizations. Okay, got it. Like my
Absolutely.
Care for the Caretakers program, I need to write a story for federal. I need to
Yeah.
write a story for state. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Got
You
it.
should have a data story that you can pull on. So for me, for Black Wall Street, the data story that I use is this. Um, the AEO, the American Enterprise Opportunity, did a report in 2020 of the impact of COVID upon Black businesses, and realized that during COVID, there were 50% more Black businesses that were created, but they made half as much money. They also identified recommendations for funding institutions in order to be more equitable towards Black businesses. That is a data story. Another data story that I tell for Black Wall Street is that the city of Asheville completed an economic disparity report and found that less than 0.5% of all contracts went to Black people. They identified the reasons for this disparity, and number one was that there was a lack of Black businesses available. Number two, of the ones that were available, that many of them were not registered as Black businesses, and of the ones that were registered as Black businesses, they lack capacity to provide the services. Because of that, we're helping to increase the number of Black businesses. We're encouraging them. We're getting them registered as Black businesses, and we're increasing their capacity to provide the service. That is the data story. All right.
Got it. That makes sense. Okay.
Right. I'm not talking about an individual. I'm not talking about a group. I'm talking about the data. I'm just saying to them what they have put out. Another data story, actually I use this next one, is my tax story for state grants. Research shows, well, the Prison Policy Institute reported that recidivism reducing programming saves taxpayers $5.27 for every dollar served, which means that every dollar that's spent on programming like ours will save taxpayers up to $5.20, that's 5 times as much. It also shows that it costs about $30,000 per year to incarcerate one individual. People in our program typically reoffend less than 1%. So considering we serve 100 people each year, we have saved taxpayers $3 million. That's the tax story. For the county, for Black Wall Street, my story is that that Black Wall Street supports the most vulnerable populations in the city. Over 50% of our people live below the poverty level. 13% of them were previously incarcerated. 11% of them have experienced homelessness, and we're working to help. We're working with other agencies in the county to help reach the county's strategic goal number 3 of equal opportunity living for everybody. That's a teamwork story. For the city story, we received, I think, $40,000 from one grant with the city. We actually got 2 grants from the city out of 2 different pots of money in 1 year. So one was a partnership grant, and one was the economic development grant, CDBG. So for the CDBG, we actually partnered with another business program and said, we have collaborated with Mountain BizWorks so that we partner with Mountain BizWorks so that we focus on recruiting more diverse people into their programs, and they have focused on providing their current educational programs to more diverse people. That's teamwork. In my corporate grants, we say to Walmart, to Target, to Costco, to everybody, don't you want to help grow Black businesses? Don't you want to help strengthen the Black community? And to foundations, we give a story. All right. And the story, let's see. Let me make sure. Can you all see my screen? I might not be able to see. Can you all see my screen?
Yes,
Yes.
But
coach.
you're doing it on a cell phone?
Yeah. I'm doing it on a cell phone. Because my computer's still in the shop. Don't be knocking me, Miss Alina. I'm making this cell phone work. I hope I don't burn the motherboard out the cell phone.
That was not. Oh, can you move that little man thing out the way too?
You always kicking a man out. We gonna figure this thing out. All right. All right, so we're seeking $25,000 to provide small businesses development and support in our GATE program in response to the city's economic disparity plan. All right. Y'all see, I didn't talk much about this plan because this is a foundation grant. If this was a government grant, I would talk more about the plan. All right, program details, that's what they ask what we were going to do. Now, this is a foundation grant. Look at what we wrote. During a community-driven process in partnership with Thrive AVL, we convened community leaders to discuss problems we face as a community. We learned that tourism is a $3 billion economic driver in our community. There are great disparities in the tourism economy for the Black community. We convened a cohort called Ideas to Action to discuss potential solutions to the problem. 38 community leaders unanimously voted to champion our project and discuss unite for the cause of increasing Black participation in the economy. I'm going to stop there. What stands out to you all about this story that I'm telling? Now, your answer is the right answer, so don't get nervous. Don't get shy. It's not going to be wrong. Go ahead and speak up. What stands out?
You're telling me about the great disparities in the Black community and how y'all came together to solve.
Yep, yep. And what word do you hear me say over and over again?
Black community.
That's right. I would never, ever write like that for a federal grant or for a state grant. I would not write like that for a federal grant because they're data driven. I would not write like that for a state grant because they're tax driven. The other thing is when you deal with state and federal funds, you have to be aware that they are open to a lot of litigation and protests and things like that. So if you write, unless it's a black centered thing, if you write about black stuff, white stuff, Native American stuff, somebody gonna get offended and somebody gonna sue. And so they can't give you money. They can't give you public money for just one group of people. Does that make sense? Let me say it differently. Because of the potential of anti-racism violations, they are very, very unlikely to give you money when your writing is about only Black people. Because they're afraid that the white-led groups are going to say, well, that's reverse racism. And people get sued. Matter of fact, the city of Asheville got sued because they gave money to a program, and that program was set aside for Black teachers, and they got sued. So governments do not want to get sued. But in this one, I know that this is a foundation, and this foundation wants to know that if they give money, we are serious about the community. Y'all see how many times I say community in here?
Mm-hmm.
Now, what can you tell from this story that I just read to y'all? You're not going to get it wrong. Just point out a thing or two. What did y'all gather from it? What did I tell y'all in that story?
Pretty much Black folks ain't getting too much of nothing, so they need to
Yeah,
help the Black folks.
yeah. The Black
So,
folks ain't getting it. It's great disparities. Y'all done did us wrong.
right.
Yeah. Says that we got 38 leaders together, 38 community leaders. That's a lot of people. All right. Anything else before I go on?
Can you give us like an example of like make a book or something like that? Make an example of all the federals and stuff like that, and provide that to us.
Make a make a book or example of what? Say it again.
Everything that you just said, and so we could just look over it and study that.
Yeah, yeah, I'll do that.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so that would give us something to look at for the examples of what we need to do.
Yeah, I will. I'm thinking, is that all the questions they asked? That grant was easier than I thought. All these questions are demographic questions that they ask. And banks do that because they have to report the amount of money they gave to diverse communities. So that was a whole grant. All right, writers, can you give me the Community Foundation grant? Because in there I talk about Hefe. And y'all will notice that the more you do this, you're going to use the same stories over and over again.
Hi, boss. What grant was that?
Community Foundation.
Got that, boss.
CFWNC. And also send me the arts grant because I tell a story there too. All right. What other questions do you all have?
This recording is going in school too, right?
Yes.
Because I want to be able to do each one of these stories for I have 3 programs, and I want to do the story for, like, I want to have it already done in a, I'm creating like a, what do I call it? Maybe a grant workbook for myself, to where
Mm-hmm.
all the information is there and I can just copy paste, all in one format. Like,
Yep.
here's our name, here's our tax ID, here's this, here's that, here's our program design, here's our mission statement. I want it all in one place. So I also
Yep.
want all my stories in one place too.
Yeah, that's good. When I
Okay.
every time I take a class, I buy a new notebook for that class. That's just
Me
part of it.
too.
All right. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
I'm telling you, I'm working this phone, ain't I?
You doing the most with the phone. I appreciate you, but what I don't want you to do is have 499 windows open on this, so it'll crash. Come on now.
Yeah, I feel you. All right. So
He
here we
said he
go.
was close to it.
Oh no, I'm already on 499. But this is what I found out about phones. I probably shouldn't have found this out. So on your phone, you have your regular tabs, but you can also have a private tab. So you can have up to 500 screens on each of them. So I know I have 499 on the public, and then I have maybe about 100 on the private. But anyway, y'all leave me alone. It's all right. Pay
We we
attention. We in
we
class.
rocking with you, coach. We gonna stick beside you. Okay, we ready.
All right, all right. So when you're dealing with story, the first part, okay. The first thing you want to do is you want to start with the focus. So if it is a data story, you want to tell your data point right then. If it is a tax story, you want to have your tax point right there. If it is a community story, if it's a teamwork story, you always want your first sentence to be the focus. Now, the thing that's different about grant writing than any other type of writing is that it's a mixture of storytelling and persuasion and research. So storytelling, persuasion, and research, but you want it to feel like a story. All right. You want it to feel like a story. So your first sentence has to catch their attention. And the purpose of the first sentence is to make people want to read the second sentence. The purpose of the first paragraph is to make people want to read the second paragraph. What do you think the purpose of the first page is? The purpose of the first sentence is to make them want to read the second sentence. Purpose of the first paragraph is to make them want to read the second paragraph. What is the purpose of the first page?
Would it be the summary or
Mm-mm.
like the
Grab
synopsis?
their attention.
That's right, to make them want to read the second page. When you're writing grants, you're dealing with a person. Computers don't read this stuff. Like, this is not like credit repair where you do a certain thing and because the computer catches it, it goes to the next thing. Like, that's not how grant writing is. Grant writing is highly personal. So the purpose of the first sentence is to make them want to read the second sentence. The purpose of the first paragraph is to make them want to read the second paragraph. Your answer to the first question should make them what?
Want to read the answer to the second.
That's right. That's right. So there's a little intrigue there. And so that focus is supposed to shock them. That that focus is supposed to shock them. Do y'all see this?
Yes, we see it.
So you'll notice in all of my grant examples, the first sentence will say, like even in some of my grants, I say, when they ask for the history of my organization, the first thing I say is during immediately following the murders of George Floyd. What does George Floyd have to do with my city? Nothing. The George Floyd murder did not happen in my city, but it did happen at the same time that I opened the coffee shop. So every single grant that asked me about the history of my organization, I started with saying immediately following the George Floyd murder, and then I go into our history. So for you, think about what is a shocking truth? What is a shocking data point? What is a shocking matter of fact? Y'all can think about it real quick. Is there anything that, like, if people knew that this happened, or if like this thing is a shocking, it's a big deal. Anybody have anything? Is there any shocking data point? Is there any shocking reality? Is there any shocking media thing? Like, are you in the same
So
city where?
in California, there are 67,000 homeless individuals,
Mhm,
and the mayor was able to house something like 8,000.
mhm.
But so there's still over 50,000 homeless people.
Mm-hmm. All right, that's shocking. And I would say, depending on what type of grant I was writing, I would either talk about the mayor in response to the homelessness crisis. Our mayor has housed 8,000 homeless people, and we want to partner to help house more of them. Or I would say there are 67,000 homeless people in California, so that no matter how many rich and famous people there are, there's a huge disparity between the ultra rich and the homeless. You get what I'm saying? Now that's shocking. People pay attention to controversy
So
like
women,
that. Say that again. Oh Lord, it's breaking up.
oh, sorry.
Now is it just me? Or are y'all? Can y'all hear her, or is it
No,
breaking
she's
up, y'all?
breaking up.
No, she's breaking up.
Really? Okay. What about now? Can you?
Yeah, that's better. Better.
Okay. So when you mention the wealthy in this conversation, are we mentioning the wealthy to show the disparity?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Okay.
You always want to show a disparity. In fact, in life, in business, in everything, we really only notice stuff based on contrast. You won't really notice how cold it is until after you've been warm. You don't really know what a good day is till you had a bad day. If you were watching TV and all the colors bled together, you wouldn't really be able to see the different colors. The contrast. The reason my screen comes up so clear is because it's a black screen with white writing on it. Contrast. So when you're writing, you want to write with contrast. Does this make sense?
Makes perfect sense. Yep. Thank you.
All right. And when I write, especially because I write about blackness so often, I don't say white people. I say black community and others, because I don't want to come off bitter, but I am making a point. I don't want to come off as hating anybody, because I don't, but I am trying to make a point. So I'll say black communities compared to others. There's one data point that I actually say white people, white community members, and that's just because it's how it was written in the report. We have a report called The State of Black Asheville, and it shows that black people made 46,000 compared to white people's 59,000 per year. I mean, black people made 29,000 compared to white people's 46,000, and that was in 2015. But it grew in 2020, and the data most recently showed that black people made 29,000, but now white people make 69,000. And because the report says white people, I say white people. But other than that, I would just say black communities compared to others. All right. Okay, give me another example. Somebody give me a shocking event, statistic, something noteworthy, something that'll catch people's attention regarding your program.
This could be
increased violence in the city of Chicago during the pandemic, we decided to start our entrepreneurial cohort under Why We Care.
All right. So what was it that happened during the pandemic, or did you just say the pandemic?
Well, during the pandemic, there was a lot of looting and a lot of violence here in Chicago.
Okay.
In
All right.
in all communities. And
Yeah.
a lot of our small businesses end up going out of business.
Yeah.
Because of the looting on top of the fact that they didn't have funding to sustain during the pandemic.
Yeah. So that's a shocking truth. I would say during the pandemic, anytime you can put a number on it, that's good. But if you can't put a number on it, then you can say things like a lot. That's fine. But you can say 40% of all Black businesses shut down during the pandemic, not because of the crisis, but because of the looting. In response to that, our program started to support those Black businesses and help them either start or restart. And this is why we care. You want to take something that's a shocking truth and make that the focus. So that's what you start with. So after you have that focus statement, then you want to have a connect statement. All right. You want to have a connect statement. And this is where you say, that's why. And in my writing, I rarely say that's why, but I'll say for this reason in response to blah, blah, blah. All right. So the first statement is the focus statement. Then the next statement is a connect statement. And I say this as statements because sometimes it is as short as one sentence each. Sometimes it might be 2 sentences each. For some, especially foundation grants, they give you a lot of space. They might give you like 1,000 words to write the history of your organization. And for that, you might do a paragraph each. But when you're telling a story, you want to, whatever that focus is, you want to hit them with that. Then the second thing you want to do is connect. All right. Now, the third thing you want to do is relate. It probably would have been easier if I'd have typed this in the text box, but it wouldn't have been as fun. All right. Can y'all actually make out what I wrote?
Yes,
So the
we
first
see
thing
it.
you want to do is focus. Second thing you want to do is connect. Third thing you want to do is relate. To the writers, do you have my example yet? The CFNC grant, CFWNC. You know, y'all know what is going on. Let me check on them. All right. Can you all see?
Yes, we see it.
All right, let's take a look at this. This is the challenges, what people have called the statement of need. Black citizens in Nashville, making up 12% of the local environment, earned income of $29,000, while white households median income was $62,000. Y'all see that contrast? Then we skip down a little bit. Right here, y'all see this where it says 40,000? The disparity is even more pronounced for businesses with Black-owned businesses making $40,000 a year and white businesses making $400,000 a year, as reported in the Economic Disparity Report. Furthermore, less than 0.5% of all government contracts go to Black businesses, emphasizing the need to address systemic barriers and promote equal opportunities. The AEO Tapestry Report, all this is my focus, y'all. Do y'all understand what I'm talking about? When I say my focus, this is my shocking reality. All right, that's the statement of need. The next thing you have to do is connect. So I'm going to connect this shocking reality to my community. And I do that by saying, our community has strong business support agencies, including Mountain BizWorks and other partners. What's missing from the entrepreneur ecosystem is strong, culturally relevant programming that attracts and retains BIPOC business owners. And then I have to relate. So number one, I focus. Number two, I connect. And number three, I relate. And this is where I relate. With capacity building support from Thrive and Forward Cities, we'll be able to implement a high-impact cohort approach to business development for BIPOC entrepreneurs. Our program attracts a diverse group of entrepreneurs, which currently include 138 members, with 87 having income below poverty level, 13 previously incarcerated, 23 experiencing homelessness, emphasizing the organization's commitment to supporting marginalized communities.
Coach, give that again. You focus, you connect, you relate. There was one more.
Yeah. That was it. Focus, connect, then relate.
Okay.
All right. Let me look at this other grant example to show you all. And all of this is story. It keeps somebody's attention. While I'm going through this one, writers, can you pull up the other community foundation grant? There was, we got two of them. That one was the $20,000 one. This one was the $50,000 one that was split over 2 years. I forgot the name of it. If this one was human services, that other one was called something else.
I got that, boss.
Oh, Astro Merchants Fund. You have it?
Yes, boss. We'll drop it on the chat box.
All right. Thank you. Oh, and this is this year's one. Well, this is good, but this one hadn't been funded yet. This is this year's. I wanted the one that has been funded. So give me the Astro Merchants Fund while I take a few more questions. So y'all, what happened is whenever I told y'all that when you get awarded a grant, you, like, those people know you and you can apply year after year. Unless they tell you cannot apply, you can apply. So we've already been awarded this grant that you're looking at, but this is year 2 and they haven't awarded this one yet. So even though it's good, I don't want to use it as an example because it's not funded yet. I think it will be, but it's not yet. And it's only like, I think it's only like $2,500.
Hi, boss. I sent it to you. I drop it on the chat box.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. All right. Can you all see my screen?
Yes.
All right. Now notice this, the project name for all of these is 10,000 Connections. I did that because I know that I know that they want big stuff. And so I needed to use a big number.
Excuse me, can you take the picture off of the thing?
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. So this is my mission statement. You see it's the same thing, cut and paste. All right, here. They asked about the challenge, and I'll go in. Y'all see, now y'all have already seen these data points, but I put them here again. More BIPOC businesses, but less revenue. I go on, I say, income and revenue disparities. This is where I talk about the fact that there are 26,000 for Black people, 46,000 for white people. I'm saying the same thing in different ways. Black businesses make 40,000 a year. White businesses make 400,000. Do y'all get what I'm saying? When I say, like, you can repeat the stories.
Yeah.
All right.
I have a question because I keep saying you have also, when you repeat that story, you got COVID. Is it best to use something with COVID up in there, or no, that's just something that you did from because of the COVID and it affected that?
Yeah, I did it then because of COVID. This application was I think we applied in 2022 for funding in 2023. So we were still on the heels of COVID. It was still a thing.
Is it best to still use that now? Because
I would not use it. I wouldn't use it. I would use something else. But I still use the economic disparity report. I'll still use the State of Black Asheville report. If there's any census data, you can use that for 5 years. So this thing right here about the Census Bureau shows that Black people make up 12% of the population. I'll use that 5 years.
Do you have any like preferred links that you go do your research and stuff as well? Or when you go to the census and data? And all
No,
that stuff?
I just type in Google, what is the, like for you, you might say, what is the poverty rate for seniors in North Carolina? And as long as it's coming from a reputable agency, like you don't want anything coming from like Love and Hip Hop blogs. That's not going to be good. But most of the time, it's coming from a news outlet. It's coming from a school, like a university, something like that. I don't want to lose this screen because we'll be at 501 screens. But if you just go to Google and say, what is the poverty rate for seniors in North Carolina? Something will come up. Go try it. Are you able?
Oh, yeah. I already did the research. I just didn't know if you had like a specific place that
No,
you did like the census for all that,
no.
especially for African American and all that stuff. Okay, then. Thanks.
Nah. Just type it in Google, and normally what comes up is okay because it's only going to pull up. Well, it's going to pull up things that are in the news or things that are reported, and most of those are okay. Um, what you will also find is that your city and your county already have information, so they have paid people to do reports. Know this, none of your cities are able to spend money unless they have a plan. And the only way that they will have a plan is if they paid somebody to identify the problem. I'll say it again. None of your cities can spend money unless they have a plan. Their plan comes from them paying somebody to identify a problem. So all of them have paid a consultant to come and point out a problem. All of them. Our city council approved reparations. The very next thing they did was approve a budget to pay a consultant firm about $200,000 to point out the problems. Every city. So they all, in order for them to spend money, they all have plans. In order for them to have a plan, they paid somebody to point out the problems. And whoever they paid to point out the problems, you can go back to them and quote them. So when I talk about the economic disparity report, it's because our city already paid for that report. All right. So here's an example. This is a foundation. They asked who will benefit. Y'all remember I said that foundations, what kind of story do foundations want? Did anybody write it down? I know I gave a lot of information. I just be going in too far with this, don't I?
Yes,
Does
he said
anybody?
that foundations want change in conditions.
That's right. So here we have one example is have fresh fish every day. Now that's an ugly name, but that's the name of his company. And if he like it, I love it. One example is have fresh fish every day. Well, hold on, I'm gonna read you the story. The primary beneficiary of this project are BIPOC-owned businesses and entrepreneurs in Asheville and Buncombe County. Many of our members work from home, are just starting out, and have other daytime jobs. Our program works behind the scenes for them to, number one, help generate income because of the wealth gap, and number two, have access support they need to grow because of the resource gap. Connections count. One example is Have Fresh Fish Every Day, Hefe, owned by an African-American male. He had been trying to get his business, quote unquote, off the ground and came to our Sunday networking brunch. There, amongst other cohort members and neighborhood partners, we created a launch for him and delegated tasks. 2 weeks later, he held his event at our location and sold out within 2 hours. So that's the story. Then we go on to say our program offers coaching, technical assistance, networking, and revenue generating events to help members succeed and thrive. All right. So this is the example. Number one, you want to focus. Number two, you want to connect it. Number three, you want to relate. So when I say focus, I mean you want to do the focus of the story. Do you need a data point? Do you need an individual? Do you need to talk about teamwork? Do you need to talk about duplicating services? Whatever the focus of that funding source is, that's what you want to start with. Number two, you want to connect it. You want to say that's why. One example of for this reason. So you take that focus and somehow connect it to you. Um, it doesn't matter if that focus does not automatically connect it to you. You can talk about the price of tea in China. If that is something that's shocking that will get people's attention, write it and then say, at the same time that the price of tea broke in China, our program started doing such and such and such. I know that that's a far stretch. You definitely don't want to talk about the price of tea in China. Um, but it needs to be something that gets people to pay attention. Second piece is you want to connect it. That's why we such and such. For this reason, we blah, blah, blah. It can be an article you read, a conference you attended, a shocking truth, anything. But you want to say, that's why we did such and such. And then you want to relate. When I say relate, you want to make it personable. What can y'all tell about this guy who owns this company with the ugly name? Just what are some things that you can pull out based on what I wrote about him? Anything? Well, at least
Well, he needed help. He needed help.
yeah, you can tell he
He
needed help.
needed some help, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
you can tell
needed
he
help,
needed help.
you know, just with the business aspect. Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell
And
he
of course,
needed
he's an
help.
African American male.
Yeah, he's an African American male. He came to the Sunday brunch. Um, Everybody chipped in to help out. It took 2 weeks to get him started. And if you read the paragraph before, we say many of our members work from home, are just starting out, or have other daytime jobs. This is how we're relating, making it personal. All right. So let me do a review because I know it was a lot of information. When you're thinking about these stories inside the grant application, um, there are three parts to the story. You want to the focus, whether it is a tax story, a teamwork story, not duplicating services story, um, a individual story, or a change in conditions story. You need to focus that. You need to hit that focus. Number two, you need to connect. Connect that story with your program. Connect that story with your solution. All right. And then number three, you want to relate. That's where you make it relatable. It's like you're telling two friends about each other. All right. And each type of grant requires a different story. Federal grants require a data story, evidence-based practice story, census story. State grants require a tax story, a group story. County grants require a teamwork story. City grants require a not duplicating services story. Corporate grants want an individual story. Foundation grants want a change in condition story. So for like Tanya, for example, gets a lot of the Walmart grants. They like taking a picture with her. And when they take a picture, they might not even talk about the whole Why We Care Foundation. They might not talk about the whole Christmas in July. They might not even talk about the Women Evolve or the Evolve event. It's Evolve for men and women now, right? They might not talk about the Evolve event, but they will talk about Tanya because the corporate part of it is that they don't have whole grant offices. They don't want to take all that time up. But part of it is that they focus on individuals. All right. So I know this was a lot, but I guess you know what Derek says something, and I didn't know what he was talking about. I can be a nerd sometimes. He's like, "You're gonna get that work," and then later on, I realized that he was talking about information, but it was a drug reference probably. But it's just a lot of work today. But I don't sell drugs.
All right now.
Oh, Jesus, that's a shame. That's just a shame. Y'all know it, but I don't know why. Drug dealers are we. I connect with drug dealers really well. I do. I was talking to somebody earlier last week. He was talking about. We actually were talking about like the difference between drug dealers back then and drug dealers today. Um, and it was shocking. He just told me way too much information. I'm so glad the statute of limitations is over. Um, I'm like, bro, you just can't say stuff like that. But anyway, I know this was a lot. Go back and listen to the recording. I will. I'll do a diagram. I'll do a diagram and a document with more clean writing and everything, just so you all can get it. But the purpose of you understanding it is that when you go after the different grants, you want to be able to cut and paste the stuff you need into there, and you don't want to have to come up with it on the spot. If you go ahead and think about it now, go ahead and start crafting your stories now, and you can just drop it in. All right. All right. Any questions?
I have a quick question for you, Doctor. First of all, happy
Mhm.
Tuesday, sir.
Happy Tuesday.
Somebody asked me a question yesterday, and I told them I think so, but I'll ask you for clarification. The question was, I know another nonprofit owner that's in the process. They've applied for a grant. They mentioned that they wouldn't, the granting source or the funding source wouldn't make a determination until November, December. They've already started purchasing, or they've leased the house. They have a nonprofit similar to mine, where it's for veteran housing. And they've already started, they've leased the house, they've already started buying the furniture to move residents in. Their question is, the grant that they applied for was in part for purchasing the furniture and the necessities to get the house up and running. So they want to know, since they've already started doing it and using their funds, their resources, once the grant is awarded, can that grant go back and pay that loan?
It cannot.
Okay.
It cannot, unless it's an unrestricted grant. And even then, most of the time, the grants have a clause that say you cannot use this grant to pay down debt. So if they already started spending, then no, the grant cannot be used to pay down a loan unless it's an unrestricted grant. The best thing that they can do is on the day one that the grant is active, to let the grant pick up those expenses from then forward.
So would it be better for them? My brain thinking like, okay, okay, I'm gonna think about my next follow-on question to that. But okay, I heard you.
Yeah. So when it comes to debt, you cannot use most grants. You cannot use the grant to pay down debt unless it's an unrestricted grant, or unless it's unrestricted. I actually purchased the thing, and this is just one way around it. I purchased the thing, and I purchased it before the grant period started. But I purchased it, and I think I set up a payment plan for it.
Yes, sir.
So once the grant started in March, the grant took up the payments and ended up paying it off.
Oh, I like when like minds think alike. Okay, so my my follow-on question, as you were talking, I was thinking about it. One of the things that my attorney mentioned was that anytime that I am allocating resources for the business, and it's not a gift to the business, to draft a loan agreement between myself and the business. and then from my salary or what have you, paid back that loan plus whatever the interest was. So as you're just saying that, so if she did a loan agreement between herself and the business that she would loan the business X amount of dollars to for this purpose, et cetera, et cetera. And like with mine, I got loans out there that I haven't started collecting on until we start making money. But so say once the nonprofit starts to generate income, as you mentioned, then the that grant or the nonprofit can then pick up whatever loan payments that are still outstanding.
Whatever
But
payments, yes.
Okay.
Whatever payments. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Because there's a bill that it owes. Similar to its electric bill, similar to its rent, similar to its everything else.
Okay. We're tracking. Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right. And it's in this case, as in most cases, paperwork is key. And so what I'm able to do, the reason that I was able to pay that bill with the grant is because I got an invoice for that item. And so all you would need to do is provide the company an invoice for that item.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
No problem. All right, y'all. Anything else? All right. Well, some of you that were planning to come to Richmond, the 20th, the 21st, or the 22nd, please let me know. We did like a hotel block, and I think I'm going to do a brunch on that Sunday. Brunch is it's one of my favorite places downtown. It's kind of expensive, so I want to know who plans to come so we can be ready. All right. Where are we going? Oh, it's the champagne brunch at the Jefferson Hotel. It's this beautiful old castle. All right.
So I'll speak for me. I can't make it. All of my flights coming back in around that time frame. So I did take your suggestion to look for a flight either Saturday night or Sunday morning, and they all get there like at 10, 11, or 12. And then it was like, okay, that's a busted day. But whenever you have another one, please let me know.
I will. All right. And that is the week of my birthday. So I'm gonna be celebrating with you all. And y'all get to meet my family and everything. So it's gonna be cool.
You know,
And,
I love
Saturday,
how business owners turn a birthday into a business expense. I like it.
oh yeah, and write it all off.
Exactly. I like that.
All right. September 20th, 21st, and 22nd. On Friday night, there's gonna be a worship service. So my favorite choirs and favorite preachers are gonna be there. And then on Saturday, I'll be teaching grants and some new strategies and some new funding sources. And then on Saturday night, we're having what we call Vibes, voter registration and dance expo. Some of you know I'm in a fraternity. I'm a Kappa, and so we're gonna be strolling, and the AKAs are gonna be there, and everybody else. So dance teams and all that stuff. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And then Sunday we'll have brunch. But that's gonna be the weekend. It's gonna be a lot of fun, a lot of information, a lot of connections. So if any of you were planning to come, we have some information for you. We're all going to be putting it out on Facebook. So just DM me and you'll know before everybody else knows. All right.
Thank you, sir.
All right. Well, y'all have a good day.
You too.
All right. Now, Granny T, you better watch yourself.
You have a good day.
All right. Now, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.